Okay, this whole month we're talking about working with sellers, and y'all know the heart that comes from this coach is that you need to have sellers. So unless you're just a buyer's agent and not working sellers, then this will be really important to you. If you are a buyer's agent, this is still important because you need to understand what happens and where the sellers come from that you're working for your team lead or whoever you're working with buyers for. I know there's a couple of you on here that want to be buyer's agents. Mackenzie is the only one that I know of that is a buyer's agent. Is there anyone else on here that is just working buyers at this point? No one. All right. So today we're going to talk about preparing for the listing presentation. I'm going to go over setting up your grid or your display is what the MLS calls that. Gathering information. Where do you go to find the information that you're going to need to take with you on that listing presentation? Understanding the seller's net sheet, and then listing tips for success. So this is a reminder that we have the command database contest. It ends on the 30th. You need to have 100 contacts in your database. All contacts need to be called, they need to be tagged, and they need to be on a smart plan. So Carrie she puts out there for all of you guys, if you don't know how to do this, she does a special Zoom class, and she usually does one a week so that y'all can understand how to do the contacts and how to add the tags and how to add the smart plan on there. So if you don't know that, reach out to her and she can let you know when the next one is. Okay, creating your own personal grid. Guys, this is probably one of the most important things that you're going to do. This is my talking point. This is how I relate to other people when I sit down with them on a listing presentation. It's how I relate to you when I'm teaching these kind of things. It's the talking points that you're going to use to let them know the value and how you chose the value for their property. Now, I will let you know that, I'm going to minimize the talking here. Everything has changed on the MLS. I minimized it, and I'm going to ask, a lot of you newer people probably haven't seen the old MLS. But for some reason last night, thank goodness, I went in there to check because it said on those little things that come through, September 1st, I think is the date that it said we're going to have a change in the MLS. And everything I had, I went in there and I started looking for this stuff and it was gone. You don't do it this way. So at 10 o'clock last night, I was trying to figure out how to tell y'all how to do this today so that I didn't tell you the old way and act like I just didn't know that it changed. Trust me, I had a thought. It went through my mind. Do I do this or not? So what happens when you go in now, if you look at, this is a different screen. So when you go in, a lot of the different things look different up here. You hit My Matrix for a lot of different things that's going to be in there. If you look over to the right where it says, Hello, The Hagen, there's a little thing. If you click on that, there's a little drop down that says settings. Settings used to be over when you clicked My Matrix. They're not there anymore. So you click over here on the right, it says settings. When you click on that, these things come up. This is what you're going to see on that front page. When you click on settings, this is what's going to pop up. And to do a custom display, and I would encourage you to go in here and look at these different things, get familiar with it. If you've got a team, your team settings, custom exports, your speed bar shortcuts, see what they've got and be familiar because you're going to use a lot of these different things. But what we're going to talk about today is custom displays. And so you can see where that is right in the middle of the screen. When you click that, then what pops up, and this is what was really different before, when you would hit My Matrix up here at the top, it would pop down and you would be able to find a custom display. Well, you can't find it anymore. So when you have to go back there and hit custom displays, then when this pops up, you can see the different displays here that I've got set up personally and for the team. So if you want to add a display, say you don't have one, so you're going to just get started, there's the little word over there that says add. So you're going to click that and this is going to pop up. So what you're going to do is you're going to decide what kind of grid you want. So the first one you're going to want, what the things that you look for when you're working with sellers, you want your actives because that's their competition. So you're going to want your actives. You're going to want your solds because that's what the appraiser uses. And that's how we definitely have to price their property. We need solds from someplace to use to get the market value that's on there. Sometimes you're going to look at expired. Sometimes you're going to look at pendings. This would be the place that if you were looking just for golf property, if you were looking just for lake property, Beaver Lake, if you were looking for just for lake property, Bella Vista, then you can take your displays and you can customize that so you don't have to go in there and set them up, add to or take away each time. So you can see here at the top, this is what I named. This one is Marcellus Sold. That's what it's named. And then if you want to add or remove, so you're going to look down through this column, this moves it up and down. You go down through here and anything you want to put on that custom display, you're going to click on it and then you're going to hit add. If once you get everything added, then however you have it in here, you're going to click up or down. So if you want status first, custom, whether it's active or sold, or you want MLS number first, and that's probably what I would put first is MLS status. And then you're going to put, if it's county, you're going to put if it's city, the different things that you want. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But that's how you add these things on there. And then be sure that you go down here and click save when you're finished with it. So if you, once you get these set up and you've got your displays in there that you use all the time, and you can see on this one, we have absorption rate. This is what Carrie and Madeline use when they figure the market stats for you that you can go in and print off and put on your flyers and things that you take out to everyone. So there's a way you can set up a grid to just do that if you want to. So there's all kinds of information here that's going to be valuable for you for later. If you work relocation properties, they're going to want you to send them information every 2 weeks, and you can set up a relo so that you don't have to go in there and redo this every time that you have to send that information to them. Once you get it, if you click on Marcellus Souls and I want to edit that, I want to add something to it that I forgot to put in there, here's where I add, and I click that, you hit done, and it saves it. Okay, when you don't have a display set up that's your personal display, that's your talking point, it defaults to what they call agent single line. If you guys have been through the MLS training, then again, when I get through with this, I'm going to open it up so we can talk, because they may have shared something that would be important. It's been a long time since I've been through there. You guys might want to share. I'm going to tell you the things that I feel like you wouldn't want to use agent single line because. So remember I said a while ago, these are the things that are in the very beginning here. If you've got your MLS, you've got your status, which this is active. You've got residential is the way we pull this, not land, not commercial. So we're looking at residential. This is the address. The town is here, list date, list price, bedrooms, acres, heated square foot. This has the agent's name on it and their office. These are 2 reasons that I would not want to use this one, because when you go into list property and you pull these things up, their eyes can go over here and they go, oh, I don't see your company over there. Ours actually, there's 2 out of the 6 of this one that I pulled. So I would not, very seldom, I can't think of a time that I ever use agent single line. I might pull it up in agent single line, and then I go to the custom display, which let me show you the difference in that. So when you drop down, see that little arrow? It's a drop down. Then you can click and see where you want to go with this. And you might want to look at some of these different ones, because if you're doing a flyer, it's already made for you on there. But I hit Marcellus Sold and take it off there, and I'll show you the difference on some of the things you do. Well, actually, I didn't do this, so I pull the current one in here, and I'll tell you why I did that just in a few minutes. All of you know that I've been looking for Bella Vista Lake property, and so I did Hagen Team Current on here. And one of the things I like is I always put days on the market. And so I can pull this without just looking at lake, because when I'm on there doing a search for just this one, and I could set one up that had just lakefront on it, just the things that I wanted to look at. It just takes me a second, because I go click 2 or 3 clicks and I'm there to see what I want with this. But days on the market is really important if you're watching a certain price range or you're watching a certain area. This tells me that there are no new listings. There are 6. When I checked this last night, when I was doing this, there were 6 listings that were lakefront in Bella Vista. That's all. And none of them were new. This tells me the year built and the garage. This days on market is really an important talking feature for you to have as you're comparing it. The heated square foot is really, really important, because an appraiser is going to go up 500 or down 500. And so you're going to be able to see, you know, where you are on that. And then you've got the price, the list price per heated square foot. Look at the difference in this. This is 3,600 and it's 115, been on the market 81 days. So this is 21 Elliston. I can tell you does not, it's right on the lake. It hasn't been cleared. Trees are all in the front of it. So those are the kind of things that you look at when you're pricing property, because if it were cleared and they could do that for very little, they need an agent to tell them, why is this sitting on the market for 81 days? You know, you can't see the lake from the house. That's one of the biggest issues. And as soon as one hits that you can, and it's priced right, or even if it's not priced right, 8 or 10 showings. Now this one has a lot of showings because all of them immediately get showings when there's not a lot of small square footages on here. The highest one is 150. There have been a lot of them that have sold out here for like 199. So they're all different prices with this. So these are my talking points that I use on the solds. And when I pull these, you're going to see in a few minutes that I use the same criteria for every object that I'm going to be pulling. If I'm going to be pulling actives, solds, then I'm going to use the same criteria. If not, I'm going to look down here and point out to the seller what I used that was different than what I used on the active and why I did that. Okay. All right, so let's go back and ask, are there any questions on setting up your display? Does everyone on here have a display? Okay, Rachel's got our displays. Erin, do you have displays set up on yours?
I have not set up any displays.
Okay, it'll just take you a few minutes. And I think once you get that set up, you're gonna love it. It's gonna make everything so much easier for you. So especially, you know, right now, just set up a current one and a sold one. Those are the most important, so that you've got days on the market. And when you take those, are you using the 3-up comparison? Is that what you're taking? When you do a listing?
Yes, I usually do 3-up, and then I have been taking the agent single line and, you know, just taking the criteria based on the listing.
But you see why not taking that agent single line would be beneficial to you, especially if you're going to leave any of that information with them. Now they've got the agent, they've got the office that they are at, and those kind of things. So I probably wouldn't do that. And when I take those, I've looked at, they're not bad when you use the 3-up, things like that. I just feel like that in today's market, well, any market, because this is what I've taught forever. I believe that it's really important. The 3-up is easy. You can just hit that and it's there. And that's what they teach you when you go to MLS, I guess. Is that what they're still teaching in the MLS when you go out of pull comps? Anybody been recently?
Yes, they are encouraging that. And show the 5-up and a few other things, but that 3-up is what they're encouraging.
But do you see how, and I'm going to show you what I do, and I think of yourself as the seller and think about how you're talking to them. And if you're comfortable using 3-up, 5-up, whatever, then go ahead and take that. I can promise you, if I go in behind you with mine, they're going to understand where I got it and all the reasons. So just use the same talking points, what you're going to say to them, so they know where you came up with that price if you're going to use those. All right, so now we're going to go to county records. Do y'all use AR County and Washington County to get your records, to get your information? Yes? Okay. I'm not seeing everybody on here, so I'm leaving. Let's see, Mark doesn't have his license. David, do you have your license yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you just got those then. I guess the only one on here, is Mark, and he should have his just any day now. Okay, so this is what we do and what I teach you to do in gathering information. Again, this is your business, guys. These are helpful tips for you to take, and you can use whatever you're doing. Take part of this, take all of it. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. All right, so I go to county records, and I do that more than I do even Realist. So I'm going to use AR County data. Most of them you're going to be able to find your way around in. If you use one or the other one, it's going to be really, really similar. So On AR County data, then you're going to check real estate is where you're wanting to go with this. You're going to search real estate records, not the taxes at this point. And then the least amount of information is better for this search that you use. Most of the time with your first search, you won't know the parcel number. You will know last name. You probably won't know the subdivision. You might know the address or the trust name. I would try with address first. I would just put the least amount of information in there that I had, and then I would hit search on there. So this is what's going to come up if you get basic. You see across here, you've got basic, you've got land, you've got sales, valuation, improvements, parcel boundaries. Check out all of these different areas and see the information that you're going to need. Here's the parcel number at the top. This is going to be really important as you're running different kinds of searches with this parcel. This is the only parcel that's going to have that number that's out there. It shows that it's in Benton County. Here's the address, and then here's the mailing address. Sometimes this is different. This would tell you if they were living someplace else besides in the home. And then collector's mailing address. This is CoreLogic that put this together for the tax services, and they're in Fort Smith, which really doesn't mean a whole lot to you. Acres, this shows you the land, the size of it, so it's 0.26. It also shows you the section, township, and range. Lot and block, and this one there is no block, and so you'd put lot 100, Cornerstone Ridge, Bentonville. Now when you do a legal for your contracts, you need to have the address, you need to have the lot and block. If you don't have a lot and block, you need to include the section, township, and range. You need to have Benton County on there, the subdivision, and you need to have the town. All of those things make up the legal that you need to put on your contracts. So the rest of this is pretty much explainable with itself there. All right, now I went into sales history because I think this is going to be something that's going to be really important for you as you're preparing for a listing presentation. So this one was sold on 3/1/2013 for a price of $215,000 by Riggins Construction. And this tells you the land, the appraised value. Now, the appraised value of the land and the improvements honestly don't really mean a whole lot because you're going to get that from the CMA. And this is based on, now actually Rod Grieve is the assessor now, and he is a former appraiser. So the values are different than they were a few years ago. But this again has got your tax information, and check if it's been paid down here. This shows if the homestead credit has been added. So the taxes started out at $3,058. Homestead was added to it. So the tax amount now is $2,683.24, and the assessed year was 2019. Now this is an older one. Probably if I pulled another one, then it might say it was assessed in 2020. But you want to look at those different things. And this is a good thing for you to have on your PowerPoint to show the sellers what's showing up for their home in the county records, because a lot of times they have no idea what it says. And then I go to the improvements, and this is really an important one for you to check out as you're getting ready for this. So is the square footage the same, or is it different than what they were telling you? So here you've got square footage is 2196. That's the basement that's unfinished. That's the total square footage down here is 2196. Here's a drawing. So if they're telling you that their square footage is 2,400 square feet, or if they're telling you it's 2,600, maybe they've looked at this and they've added the carport or garage. No, they wouldn't add the carport, but they've added the garage in there and the square footage, and it's not heating cooled. A lot of times they don't understand even where they got this if they went to this. Another thing that could make this different is if they had added on a room out here that was not in the assessed value. So it's been added on since the appraiser or the assessor went out there to look at this property. So you want to check those things as you're in there. And then make sure whatever the basement is it finished out the same as the rest of the house, because that will make a difference. Okay, any questions on that? You guys are with it.
I don't think so.
Okay, all right, good deal. All right, the seller's net sheet. Never ever go on a listing presentation without a seller's net sheet, because the most important thing to them is the price you're going to set on that house first. And second is how much they're going to make from it. They always go in and go, what price, before they even ask how much I'm going to make. Now I'm going to back up and tell you that's really important in the long run, but how much they're going to make on it is the most important thing. Because a lot of times when they talk about commission, you know, one of your objection handlers, if I can make you the amount of money that you want to make while we're doing this, then it really doesn't matter about the commission. And that's true. If you can get them what they need to net or they want to make out of this, then the commission is not going to be as important. But you have got to have a seller's net sheet. We provide a sample for you so you can fill it out. It's automated in PC Coaching. So just go in there working with sellers and go to seller's net sheet. And this is what it looks like on the seller's net sheet. I usually take a high, a low, and an average on one. So as you walk through this seller's net sheet with them, this is the square footage that's up here. And some of these are based on figuring these figures based on the sales price. Some of them are based on putting the square footage in, and some of them you put it here and the price per square foot. So if you want to change the price, if you've worked through these and one is 130 and one is 133 and one is 129, then you stick that price per square foot in that one that's based on price per square foot, and it tells you the sales price, or you can put the sales price in. So all of these other things are automated through there at the very beginning. Once you put this in and you get this figured, then it's going to actually put the 6% commission in there. On this one, it figures 17. Now, if you are in an area where you tell them, if I list this and sell this, then I'll charge 5%. If you do something like that, I don't always agree with cutting your commission. However, there are times that that happens. So if you need to, you change this to 5 and it will recalculate the commission that's in there. Title insurance. This title insurance is based on Liberty Title. So if you're using another title insurance, that's completely okay. Just check their title prices as you're filling out the net sheet, or use a net sheet that they give you at that point. But you want to make sure that this is concurrent with the title company that you're using. So this is what Liberty Title would charge on a $293,000 737 loan. And this comes out different when you just put the square footage in there. And sometimes this is a fun thing to look. Or you can change this price to even it out to $294 if you want to do that, which will change the price per square foot. So again, check the title company. If you're not using Liberty, then be sure that this price is correct in there. Okay, and then the next thing is termite. And this is highlighted for a reason. I want it to jog your memory to talk about the termite policy. Every homeowner should have a termite policy. And if they don't have a termite policy, they're going to need one. 99.9% of the contracts ask for a termite clearance letter. It's just what happens in this market. It's really important. So you want to ask them if they have a termite policy. If they have a termite policy, you want to follow it up with a couple of different questions with that. One would be, when was it due? Have you had it checked lately? Because if I have a termite policy and it's due in October and I'm going to sell my house in October, I'm closing on it, maybe they haven't come back and checked it. And for a clearance letter, they may charge me for the whole year plus the $150 for the clearance letter. So a termite company, whether you're using them or not, will come out and give you a free estimate for what it cost. Okay, is there a question in the chat? Carrie, do you see a question? I thought I saw one come up there. Okay.
Aaron asked the question.
Okay. Hi, TG. I didn't see you on there earlier. Aaron, you want to ask the question out loud?
Yeah, I was just curious if the title insurance, closing fees, revenue stamps, etc., if those fluctuate with the price of the property.
They do. Yes, they do. And when you put the price in here, this is automated. You don't have to worry about it for if you're using Liberty. The only time you do is if you're going to use Waco or you're going to use another title company that's out there, then you need to get their price configuration, and that needs to go in there. Now, what we do, the price this is configured with is a combo. So a combo would be, our contract says if they're closing at the same place, or you need to check with your title company, make sure if you're the buyer or the seller that they're not going to charge you more to have a split closing. That's what we call it. Or if you're having all cash, then the seller will furnish the title insurance, and it's called an owner's policy. Great question, Erin. And it does fluctuate. And then back to the termite, make sure you get the correct amount and you let them know, because if they don't understand and they think, well, it's due, and so I'm not going to have to pay it, somebody else can pay it for the whole year, whatever. They're asking you to furnish 1 year of clearance. So you need to find out, what is it going to cost me to furnish 1 year clearance letter when I sell this property in October? And then prorated taxes. We understand in Arkansas on here, the talking points is that taxes are paid in arrears. We all learned that in real estate school. And that in 2020, when taxes are due in October, we are paying 2019. So if they are escrowed in your account, then when you close, the mortgage company is going to send back the escrow amount for the taxes that were in there. They'll send that back to you, along with the insurance company will send back a refund on the insurance that was in there. So taxes prorated, and then what they're going to do is the seller is going to pay taxes all the way from January to October closing. They're going to charge them the taxes for 2020, credit the buyer with that, and then the buyer will have to pay those taxes next year when the taxes are due. So that's why you have prepaids, and they collect for taxes back so many months and keep them in escrow. If they don't, they will raise your payments, and there will be other options that the mortgage company will have that's in there. Okay. And then the closing fee, title surge, and processing tax certification. At Liberty, these fees are pretty much set. Again, this depends on the title company. So if you're using another title company, ask them what fees. Do they have a closing fee? Do they have a title search, a processing? And I put Liberty combined fees. So all these little extra ones are $250 that's in there. It covers everything that you've got. Again, you want to make sure, and you hand fill those in if you're using another company that's in there. And I skipped revenue stamps. This is the taxes that for the deed that you have, and those are split 50-50, and those are automatic. Whoops, I hit the wrong thing. Those are automatically figured for you too, based on the sales price that's in there. So you don't have to worry about those. And then if you look down to the bottom, as you go down here, if you want to add repairs, if you want to add an amount for that, if you want to add a home warranty, you want to add $500 or $600, if you want to say if the buyer's closing costs are going to be, you know, well, my word, I've got happy fingers here today. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to say 5% of $293 so that they can know what it's going to cost to pay, or 3%, depending on where you are and what kind of lender you're thinking or loan this might be, then you can add those. I personally do not add buyer's closing cost in their home warranty. When you're on the listing presentation, you mentioned those could be cost. They're not things that we know that would be here now, so there's really not a point in putting those in there. Let's give them best case scenario. You might talk to them in this price range, probably there are going to be some closing costs, so they're aware of that. There's most likely going to be repairs on any home that's in there, unless they make if this one's $294 and they make an offer for $320 and no repairs or something like that, then they need to understand that whatever the repairs coming back, they're not going to have to make any of those repairs. So just talk through those different items. They're great talking point, the same as your display or your grid that you do on the MLS.
Sorry, I have another question.
Okay, shoot.
That you just
shoot, but ask.
3 or 5% is approximate buyer's closing cost. Is that?
If I were you, there are so many new loans out there today, Erin, and like we're doing one with Keller Mortgage, and Keller Mortgage has got where they pay the fees and those kind of things. And so, and that's another thing you might want to talk about here, is that if they get their loan through Keller Mortgage, or because they have their house listed with you, if the buyer asks for closing costs, then if they would consider using Keller Mortgage. And ours has been an extremely good experience. I mean, Johnny on the spot doing everything right now. And on a $415,000, he's saying our cost as buyers are going to be around $1,000. And so that's amazing. And so you can figure 3 to 5%, but I wouldn't guess at that because you're going to be wrong. So you can talk to them in scenarios and just say, and as you have more buyers out there and you know what they are and they're running about the same, plus there are things now that they're adding to these costs because of COVID and different things. FHA is making it very difficult to get, you know, some loan officers have origination fees, some don't, and those are considered buyers' closing costs that are in there. So just for thought, 3 to 5, I would tell them that whenever a buyer is there, when you write a contract representing a buyer, you don't want to guess at those, period. Okay? You want to call the lender. That's his job, and he needs to tell you what the closing costs are going to be. So you can write seller to pay buyer's closing cost and prepaid items not to exceed this amount of money over here, because you could lose the deal in multiple offers by just putting pay 3%, pay 5%. And 3% is probably going to get most of them that's out there. So that was a long answer for that question. Did it help?
Yeah, that's great. The seller recently was asking me like ballpark, what are the buyer's closing costs, just so I can keep in mind. So
if I were you, I would call a few lenders, and then you can say, I've called Keller Mortgage, I've called this, I've called that, and this is what they're telling me for this price range. And so, yeah, I would say 3% is probably going to work pretty much. But you definitely don't want them to hold you to that.
For sure. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so here's the listing presentation that we have inbox for you guys. Again, you're welcome to change it. The ones of you that are on my team have a little bit different one than this. And then some of you, you'll see we're doing listing presentations at the afternoon class. I'm having several agents this month do it. I think Caton is going to be doing it maybe last, and I asked him what he used, and he uses something totally different. So that'll be interesting, and I'm not sure what Babette uses. She's going to do it next week. So I think it's going to be fun to watch what other people are using, and then you can determine what feels good to you. But I can tell you, using the slides or the connection and the price and the marketing and the close and those sections of this listing presentation have worked for me for years and years and years. You may change what you put in each one of those, but you need to talk about every one of those sections in there. Okay, well, I skipped after I said that in here. I like when I go on a listing presentation, I love to put their picture of their house here. You can go by and take it with your phone. You can send it to a company called Box Brownie, and they will enhance it. They'll make the lights come on, and this makes a statement because this is for them. And have your information over here, and you might want to put their information under listing presentations, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, whatever. They like for you to personalize this, make it theirs. They're going to notice, oh gosh, that's my house that's on there. Again, what you're doing in the very beginning of this listing presentation is you are connecting with the sellers, and everybody likes for it to be about me when they're the seller. And they like to know that you cared enough that you did personalize it. All right.
Does Box Brownie usually have a pretty fast turnaround on those?
Yes, they're in Australia, and I can send it in the afternoon and it's back the next morning because that's their working day. So it has and it's very inexpensive. It's like $4 to do something like that. $8 is your minimum charge. And so go get 2 listings at one time. But you know, $4 or $8, whatever it is to have that, you can put a credit in there and you can use it several times if you want to. And I tell you, the new iPhones are extremely, they're just really good. Justin Ferris, who does a lot of videos, he uses his iPhone, and I think he's got 11 Pro is what he has, and to take pictures with. So if you've got one of the new iPhones, you might not even need to do that. You can enhance it with lights, but you can make it look really good. So you don't have to even send it off if you don't want to with that. Okay, so connection. This is part of the connection that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Talk about our goal or our goal. Our goal is to sell your home in the least amount of time, making you the most money with the least amount of stress. That is so important to that seller because number one, they want to sell their home in the least amount of time. They'd like it done in one day so they don't have to worry about it anymore. No showings, those kind of things. Make them the most money. So they're going to net. That goes over that that net sheet that you're talking about. They're going to net the most money, and you're going to take care of it. So if there's anything that I've learned in the past, I have learned to say this one without looking at it anywhere. I'm going to sell your home in the least amount of time, make you the most money and the least amount of stress. That's what you want, isn't it? And I end it with a question, and I shake my head, yes, affirmative, because I know that's what they want. And you'll find that if you do those kind of things, they're gonna follow along with you and shake their head. 3 important issues that we're going to consider today. One is your motivation to sell your home. So you're going to talk to them about their motivation. Has one been transferred? They're left here, the other one left here with the kids. You know, are they trying to downsize? Are they moving closer to their adult children? Number 2 is the price that we set on your home. And number 3 is the marketing of your home. And on number 3, in the past, I have said one of 3 things can happen, and we'll get to that one in just a few minutes. Marketing is not nearly as important. Don't talk about it in the very beginning, because that's about you, what you're going to do. The most important thing to them is, and number 1 is you're connecting. They got to know you, like you, and trust you before they want to do business with you. So you want to connect with them in the very beginning and use this time here to listen to them. This is where you ask the questions and you listen to their motivation. You listen to their pain points. Why do they want to sell this property? And then price is always next. The first one was for you. Without knowing their pain points, without knowing their motivation, it's going to be difficult to know how you're going to handle their objections and your closing as you get these offers in. And then to them, second to them, is the price. And we've talked about that already, that you're going to set on your home and how we're going to do that. And then the marketing. After, if we can't come to a decent price, there's not a lot of reason to spend very much time in marketing of what we do. I may cover it a little bit just to be courteous, but if we can't agree on a price as we're going through that, then contractually, this is probably not going to happen right now. So our goal is to get it done, least amount of time, making them the most money with the least amount of stress is the main thing we want to get across to them. And then their move. Again, this is where you talk to them and you feel them out and you listen to them. Where do you plan on moving? If in your conversation on the phone before the appointment, you already have this information, then talk to them. Make notes when you're talking to them, so when you go back, I understand that John is being transferred with Walmart and he's going to be moving to the Austin area, and you're going to be left here with 5 children, and we need to get this home sold as quickly as possible so you can reunite the family together. Is that correct? Is that what I remember us talking about? Ask that question. Or where do you plan on moving? Now is the time for you to listen to the story of John and that I'm going to be stuck here. How soon do you have to be there? If it were the scenario with John, sooner is better. If it were a scenario where they said, oh, we're just checking the market, we really don't have to move right now. You know, we're thinking that we would like to live closer to our children, but we don't have to. We don't have to sell this house, so we're probably going to price it high. Again, there's a trigger to know where you are, because anytime a home is not moving, it always goes back to price. It's either the market dictating that it's not the right price to sell at this point. It needs repair work, even though it's in the subdivision where these are right, it's always going to go back to the price. And then the third thing, have you considered the proceeds that would be necessary from the sale of your home? Now, just listen. You may have to ask another question in here to get them talking to you, because they're going to go, well, a lot of times, I've had you here for a reason, and the reason is I want to know what you're going to tell me is the price. And then you turn back around and you go, yes, but in order for this to be a really happy closing, what net proceeds would you like to see? Just turn it around and make it fun for them. You might tell them, I've already got net sheets prepared, so I can't change what I think. I'd just like to know what you think as we move through this. It's important to me. And let them tell you. A lot of times they'll open up after that conversation. Then, do you know the principal balance of your mortgage? A real important question. In today's market, most people do know the answer to that because they make their payments online, and online it shows you the principal balance owed after this payment or before this payment. So, but you want to ask them to please call the mortgage company and talk to them. What will my balance be? The principal balance on my loan. Are there any prepayment penalties, anything like that? Generally, no in today's market with today's loans. But what will it be? Closing date of October 30th at that point, or closing date of November 15th. So ask those questions and then let them talk to you, and you'll be able to understand where they are and how to handle their objections better as we move through this listing presentation. And then the listing expectations. Today, after considering market conditions, safety for you and your family, I didn't used to have this in here, guys, but this is really important in today's market. So safety of you and your family, your home valuations, and our marketing strategies. One of two things are going to happen. One is you'll decide to list your property with us. Two, you may decide under current market conditions and your motivation, it may not be the best time to list your home. Either way, we will work in your best interest to get the property sold or help you prepare for the listing in the near future. So we're letting them know that we want to partner up with them. We want to be their team. We're not pushing them to do anything. We're giving them just the facts. And then Keller Williams Market Pro Realty, we talked about safety a few minutes ago. These are some of the things that we put into practice as a company or as an agent. This is some of the things that I put into practice. You can change that however you want to. At the top, in-person showings are still available. Buyers and sellers are taking necessary sanitizing precautions before and after each showing. You can electronically sign all documents from the comfort of your home. We have a company called Form Simplicity. I'll be able to put everything in your contract, add your signature to it, send it to you electronically through email, and walk you through the signing of it without us even getting back together. We are limiting the number of people, and buyers agents have been given safety instructions before entering any home. So we let one buyer's agent come. We have significant time for them to get in and get out. And the buyer's agent have been told that if you want them to wear a mask, if you want them to wear gloves, then we can leave the gloves there for you. We can leave hand sanitizer on the table with all these things and instructions. If there's someone in the home that, you know, that they need to be careful about going into this room. If you don't want them to turn the lights on, then all the lights will be on. If you don't want them to open the doors will be open. Whatever they want, this is about them at this point. And then on contracts, all contracts can be presented in person or virtually. So don't think that because I'm saying everything can be signed electronically that I'm not willing to come over and sit down in front of you and make sure that you understand these contracts. So again, guys, we talked about the different generations and how you deal with them. A lot of times, if you're dealing with boomers and above, they like for you to come over and sit down with them. Not all baby boomers are that way. I'm okay, and I'm a baby boomer, with you doing everything virtually or on the computer, as long as you tell me exactly what's going to happen with that. And so you're going to see that you're going to need to be more direct and tell them exactly what's happening. Now, what I have found is even the younger people are challenged sometimes on our systems. So don't estimate or underestimate any age group or any generation of what they can or can't do. Find out what they are comfortable with and tell them we'll make that happen for you. And then one of the things that's really big in the past and is coming back and is working great are virtual tours, and appointments are available if you feel more comfortable meeting virtually. So you can meet with them in person, or you can meet with them virtually. That's why I'm sharing these presentations with you guys and telling you that every presentation needs to be prepared as if you were going to do it virtually. I think it's got more detail. I think it looks nice. I think it speaks to the sellers that are out there. So we can virtually tour your home. We can have a photographer come in there. We can set an appointment and do that with you on Zoom or on whatever pretense you would like to be on. There are 5 essential ingredients that comprise the formula for a successful sale of your home. The 5 that I've set out today to talk about are the condition of your home, the location of your home, the market, the terms that we're going to put on your contract, and the price included in that. So those are the 5 things we're going to talk about. So the location is the first thing. The pricing of your home must reflect its location. It's always about the price. I said that in the very beginning, always about the price. So you might have the same house sitting in Shadow Valley on the golf course with a lake behind it as you have sitting in a high-end subdivision without the lake, without the golf course. It is not going to bring the same price. So it's going to vary according to what the market is saying. That subdivision or that area or that part of the town is marketing at this point. So pricing your home has to reflect its location. It's been said in the past, and this holds true today, the better the location, the higher acceptable price. Again, what does this mean? School districts, high-low traffic, highway accessibility, lakes, golf courses, gated communities. These are some of the amenities to be considered in determining the value in the home location. It doesn't mean that if you're in a subdivision that doesn't have these items, that you're not going to be able to get top price, top market value for your home that's available in that area. So you want to make sure that they understand that different areas have different price per square foot, have different pricing. And one thing we can't control as agents is we don't control the location. And then the next thing is conditions. The condition is the pricing of your home must accurately reflect its condition. So if we go into the home and they don't want to make any repairs in it, and they've had water intrusion and the walls look like they're peeling all the paint off, or it's been leaking and they don't have a new roof, then they're not going to get as high a price as the ones that have updated all those, have had them tested. The water intrusion was taken care of, there was no mold, anything is there. Those houses are going to apply a different price range than the ones that don't want to fix it. The general upkeep and presentation of your home is critical to obtaining the highest value. Here you talk to them about keeping everything picked up. If they've got children, their home needs to be show ready all the time if they have to throw things in a closet. Buyers are not going to look at the closets nearly as much as they are the general condition of the home. Is that going to give it more value? It's emotional value is what it's going to give it. Emotional value when they walk through that. If you walk through a house, some of you have shown houses enough today that you're going to understand that if you walk through one that's completely cluttered, sometimes it's really hard to see the value that could be set on that property and where they came up with that. Nature of the roof, the plumbing, the carpets, the paint, all relate to the condition. Some of the factors that will add value to an appraiser are upgrades such as the kitchen, really important. If they've upgraded their kitchen, it's going to give them value to an appraiser. Their bathrooms and landscaping, a lot of times, does give them value. And then the market, recession, inflation, interest rates, mortgage availability, competition, public's perception of the general economy and the makeup of the market. Right now, the public has no idea what's happening in the market here. A lot of them are afraid. They're afraid of people coming in their home. So you need to make them feel comfortable that you're in control and that everything is okay in listing their home and getting it sold. 9 times out of 10, it's going to sell the first week anyway. They're going to have very few people except for the first day or so if the price is right in that price range. And again, you're going to show them that grid that we were talking about and tell them that's coming, and I'm going to show you the absorption rate, or how many months, how many houses are left, and how many months on the market that we have in just a few minutes. The second thing is it could be a buyer's market or a seller's market. We're going to talk about that. The pricing of your home must reflect the current nature of the market, and we cannot influence the market. We have nothing to do with the market. You know, in March, when all this started happening, we didn't know if we were going to have another recession like we had in 2008. We didn't know what to happen. And if you listen to, as we talk about Keeping Current Matters that I subscribe to, and I get a lot of these things for you guys, they call this recession or this pandemic or this happening right now, they say it's a seller's market, but it's a V-shaped pandemic or V-shaped recession. That means it happened, it went down really fast, everything happened in March. Our anniversary was the first week of March, and we had a big party, didn't think anything about it. No one wore a mask. I'd heard of COVID before that. Nothing was said about it a whole lot. A week later, they quarantined everybody, said stay in your home, and it started sliding from that. You know, we didn't hardly go out. The kids even came and bought groceries for us and called and said, do you need anything? Because of what the perception of what was happening out there. And so we don't know where they are on this, but that V shape, it went down really quickly. But what we're experiencing, what makes it V, is it's headed back up just as fast. It hit that area, and then the market just, I mean, it's as good as it's ever been. We're looking at our numbers, and I go by ours as a team, but our numbers as a team, we are way above where we were this time last year. And so, and I think as a company, we're way above market share. We're having some of record months right now at Keller Williams. And again, it's because of what's happening. It went down and it's headed right back up. Do we know that's going to continue? We're believing it's going to continue. We'll see what happens as the elections start in November and all these different things. What I want to say to you guys in this situation is that you need to be ready for anything. You can do a listing presentation virtually with all the things that we're giving you. You don't have to go in. People can look at these home virtually. There are agents that are still shut down in the United States in different states that can't go in and show and are still selling property. They're virtually looking at all these things. They have great photographers. They're letting the photographers come in. They're masking. They can do those things. They can't, actually, they're not considered essential in some of the states at this point. So what would you do if that happened here? Would you still keep going? You know, because in a changing market, the best agents always make the most money. You just have to believe you can do it and figure out a way. There is a way to get this real estate. Real estate brings the economy back. It's happened time after time after time. It's not always the conventional way that it happens, and you just have to be open to what it needs to take to get that done and you make the money. So we can't control it, but we can take advantage of the market. We will provide you with a complete, again, you're talking to the seller, market analysis, a net sheet, and we're going to establish the value and the profit of your home for you. And then this slide is the numbers of homes that sell, and we've talked about this already. We talk about this, and this has stayed during this whole pandemic. It's a seller's market in most of the areas that you're going to check. Again, go in, look under market stats and box, and you're going to be able to pull these things and utilize these in your listing presentation. So you can say anything 6 months or less, 6 to 7 months is a buyer's market. He says 6 months. A lot of economists say 7 months. So 6 months or less is what Keeping Current Matters says in here, and we're definitely in that. You can look at what happened, look at the years 06, 07, 08. This was the other recession, 10, and then you can look here in the market that we're in today. It's way down in there. Okay, this is what we keep talking about. If you're not familiar, some of you are new, and you've not seen the grids that we do Bentonville, Bella Vista, Centerton, Springdale, all the major small little cities that are around Northwest Arkansas, plus we do Benton County and Washington County. And this one is for Bentonville, and you can see one of the things that you're going to point out in here is these are days on the market, and this is month supplies here. This is the only one on this one, 600 to 700,000, that's over 7 months. The rest of them are all seller's market, and this fluctuates in different cities, so don't just quote this one. Active listings in Bentonville, 0 to 99, and this is not the most recent one. I haven't pulled August in here. You guys, I challenge you to go back and look at these numbers so that you know. So you can see here 0 even to 150. No active listings when we pull this one. 90 days sold, there was one, so less than 0.3 tenths of a month market. There's just not a lot of market supply on there. So with that said, we're going to move to the terms. And so I'm sorry, I'm having to move my little faces over a little bit to see this. The more financing terms and options you accept, the more potential buyers there will be for your property. So if they just want cash, there's going to be very few people that can just pay cash. If they can do FHA, they're going to probably need to pay buyer's closing costs. If it's the right price range and the right location, if they can do RD, they can do an Addie loan where first-time home buyers can go in, and those are not probably as prevalent in today's market as they have been. I read of a mortgage company this weekend that I had never heard of. I think it's called Homeland. It's not in Arkansas, but they will take a home instead of making a contingent offer. If you take your loan through them, they'll buy it if it doesn't sell. So it's a lot. I mean, can you imagine how neat it would be to have a mortgage company that would offer something like that? I think we're going to come into a market where we're seeing a lot more options with mortgage companies than we've seen in the past. The pricing of your home must reflect the terms that are available. And so you're going to get more if you offer more options that are in there. The easier the terms, the more valuable your property becomes. And so, you know, terms are terms. You know, do I need You know, I talked to someone the other day that said we need delayed occupancy. I hate delayed occupancy. It's a mindset. I don't like it. And I'm just telling you, if you don't do it, if you can get away from doing it, if it's something that it takes in this market because they can't find a home, they're asking for 30 days, you need to let your sellers know that this is something that's happening pretty regular. Would they be willing to do this? We cannot put our emotions in it. So just because I don't like delayed occupancy does not mean that it's not might be necessary to sell some of these homes. Early occupancy, I don't like those either, where they move in before they close. But those are all options that makes it a little bit more foreseeable. If they will take a contingency offer, there's a lot of people that don't want to buy a home or can't buy a home until they sell their home. Again, if you sit down with someone and get them to the loan officer, find out if they need to sell their home. Find out if they can get a bridge loan to help them get into this other house, if they can afford both of them. And that's going to go back, what you're going to ask the lender is their debt to income ratios. Can they afford to keep this home? Ask the buyer if you can get on the phone with them and ask these questions so that you can understand if you can somehow get them into the home while they still have their other one. That's the best option that's out there. And then again, it's easier to move. Carrie and I were talking about that this morning, and you know, I'm living in my lake home now, so when we close on the other one, I don't have to be out the day that we close, which makes it feel really good. When they moved here, they moved in with Luke, her brother, until they found a home, and so he's not kicking them out day one. So those kind of options, just those are terms that makes, sometimes they'll take that contract even if it's less with those kind of terms. Another term is, one of the things that we're seeing is that buyers are willing to pay more than the home actually will appraise for. We've seen up to $5,000 on a couple of different contracts that are out there. Those are considered terms that make it more feasible. Non-refundable deposit, you know, if they're willing, a buyer willing to put up, you know, if they're going to pay cash and it's a $200,000 home and they're willing to put up a $50,000 non-refundable because they know this is what they're going to buy, and then somebody offers $10,000 more, the seller might take that $10,000 less offer with $50,000 because they're sure it's going to close. And you don't know when somebody's got to go get a loan, what kind of things can happen. You don't know if they waive the inspection, they're not going to do an inspection. You don't know what's going to happen with those kind of things. Those are terms. Not telling you that you need to offer those, but those are what we're talking about with terms that does make a difference when you're on the flip side, and your seller needs to be aware of these terms. Okay, pricing guidelines. What you paid for the house does not reflect its value. This is always going to come up, or I'm going to go 9 times out of 10, it's going to come up. Well, I paid this amount of money, and so I want this amount of money. The market dictates what your property is worth. It does not matter what you paid for it. The amount of money that you need to get out of the sale of your property does not affect its value. Well, I got to have $30,000 because this house over here is the one I want, and I need that to put down. I need it for my down payment. Doesn't matter. It doesn't set the value, or the pricing guidelines are not dependent upon that. What you think it should be worth has no effect. Sometimes they get what neighbors have sold their house for, and the house was 1,000 square foot bigger, and they established their value from that. And buyers set the market value. Sales, past sales, set the market value. These other things don't. What another real estate agent says your property is worth does not affect its value. So there are some agents that can come in there, and especially in today's market, honestly, guys, it's really hard to second guess. The house that we just made an offer on, we're paying more than I feel like the house will appraise for. I'm probably not going to be one of those buyers that will pay them more than it appraises for, but because I don't know in this market what an appraiser is going to do, the best thing you can do is to be honest and talk to them. A lot of times, if you're in a non-conforming, or if it's hard to find the price of a property and you're doing this pricing guidelines, it's good if you're out here and you're doing this presentation, then one of the things you'll tell them is, I called an appraiser and I talked to them about the market and the market value for a home like yours. And again, I call these non-conforming. If you've got a golf course in your front yard, which I priced one of these, and I did call an appraiser about it. It's things that make it not as, you know, one of the things that, again, that we're looking at on ours, and when you're in the middle of something, it always becomes more relevant to use for what you're trying to do. But ours is a townhome. I never thought I would want a townhome, but it's 3,600 square foot, nicely laid out townhome on Sugar Creek, beautiful views, and nothing has sold, very non-conforming. And so anything could happen on that. Those are the times you call appraisers. Those are the time you get information, you look up. I even went to Zillow, and one down the road from it was 5,500, which is not considered 5,600 appraisal comparable, but it's the only thing sold for 850,000. So could they use it? Yeah, you never know what an appraiser is going to do. So we'll see. Y'all will get to hear about what happens with the stories that you've heard on mine as we move through that. The repairs that you have completed does not always reflect the current equity in the problem. If you put new carpet in there and you spent $20,000, it is not going to give you $20,000 value. Emotional value is going to be there. If you did the same thing and you put gorgeous granite in the kitchen and you updated the bathrooms and the floors had hardwood floors, and you spent $30,000 on that, value would be added back for those kind of things. So you have to be careful. Just because they put new carpet, for one thing, the carpet they put in there may not even be what the new buyer likes with that. Okay, and then this happens to be one of my favorite slides. So whatever you change, whatever you do, I highly encourage you to always use this slide, because it doesn't matter what the market is or what it says. This slide is always pertinent. It always has value. And so it's a pyramid, and it talks about market value. If we list your house at market value, which again, it doesn't matter what the market is, it's market value, we're going to pick up 60% of the buyers that are out there in that market today. If we go just 10% above market value, then we're going to pick up 30% of the buyers that are out there. 15% above is going to drop it down to 10%. If we go just a little below, and I'm going to tell y'all something, today, in today's market, because of multiple offers, if you price a property just below market value, you're going to get most times above market value offers, because you're going to have more people looking at it, making offers, going, wow, this looks like a really good buy. And they're willing to pay more than list price, several $1,000s. It goes back to the ones that we're getting 18 offers on, $20,000 above market value, and they're appraising. Again, you don't know what the inspection is going to bring, and you don't know what the appraiser. First of all, you don't even know what appraiser you're going to get. We're having some appraisers that are coming in low, which is unusual today, and you just can't hardly fight it. And then we're having some appraisers that are coming in way high, and you're going, they had to look at the contract to get that price. So this is really important. And anytime they want to go back and overprice it, go back to this point in the slide and review with them what happens when your asking price is market value. What percentage of potential buyers are going to be able to look at that property at that point? And then let's look at the market. And then I've got this net sheet up here, because you're going to tell them that we're going to go over the net sheet as we look at the market. So we're going to look at active properties. These are similar properties currently on the market that are competing for the attention of buyers. We're going to look at sold prices. These are sold market. These are prices paid for the recently sold, are comparable with the appraiser. We're going to look at expired. These are comparable homes that did not sell. Again, if you think back when I was going over the properties and I pulled those things in Bella Vista, then the ones that have sold, that they listed immediately, they're gone. They go pending with 1 or 2 days on the market. Those other ones had 80-something days, I think was the least that one had been on there. There's something wrong with what the market is saying with those houses. You're pulling lake view. They either don't have the view, they haven't fixed the lake view like the other ones have. So again, days on the market is going to be important. And in some cases, if there's a lot of expired, I pull them and put them on the PowerPoint too. And then pending, these are the homes that are under contract and are not comparable. So if I only take in the active and solds, and I talk about these two, and that I've looked at them and I feel like I've got a good feel for what's happening, and we'll talk about that. May not include them in the properties that I take. Okay, a market analysis It's prices paid for recently sold comparable properties, similar properties currently on the market. This is your competition. Comparable homes that did not sell, expired listings, showings that buyers have not been willing to pay today's market value, and statistics that show market trends, what's happening. So this is what we're going to present to you as we move through the things that we've talked about today. This is a reminder for you that says, let's check out your market and your net sheets. Here's where you pull out the market. So if you're in person and you want to pull out the paper that you've taken with you, okay, I would suggest that we start using everything digital, even if it's in person, and you can print it off if you want to leave it with them or not at that point. If it's virtual and it's not in person and you're going to send them that, then it's going to be so much easier for them to understand what you're talking about when they can visually see it. And you don't ever know what's going to happen in today's market. Somebody can say, I want you to come over, and then one of them gets tested positive and they're not sick for COVID, and you're not going over there. And so you need to be ready for either direction with that. Okay, this goes over a little bit about what we have talked about today already in the very beginning. So the active on this little thing that we did was only 2 came up. This is your competition. You tell them that. Anything out there, you're going to look at the prices. It's not necessarily something that an appraiser is going to use, but it is your competition when people are looking in this price range. So first look, I look at the subdivision. So again, you can see that I've used on my display Hagen Team Current here. So I've got the MLS number, I've got the status active, the address, the subdivision, the town that it was in, the list price, and you can go from high to low or low to high depending on where you are with this. List price per square foot, the heated square foot that was in there, how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has, how many days on the market. The year that it was built is really important, because if you're going to narrow these things down a lot of times, it may come to going year built. It will come to square footage. It may come to, you know, subdivision, those kind of things. So days on the market, year built are important. And then a lot of times the 3-car garage or the 2-car garage, like for instance, the subdivision, Shadow Valley, there's a lot of 2-car garages in there that hold their value. But if you've got a 3-car garage and everything else in the same price that you have it in only has 2, it's going to give you an added advantage. So depending on what subdivision you're looking at and the criteria, that will make a difference. If you're virtual, you will include slides 17 through 29 as we go through them. If in person, you have the option of slides or paper, as we talked about a few minutes ago. So I go back here and I put information, because this is going to jog my memory. This is going to jog my memory about what we were talking about in the comparison to this property that we're listing. So I put the active price in there. I put what it's priced per square foot. This, I just want them to see what their competition looks like. This is a real easy thing to do. You can pull your PowerPoint up. You can go into the MLS. You can right click, copy photo, and just put it in here. It's a real easy thing to do. So this was one of the properties. There was 2 of them. This is the other one. And instead of putting it up here, I usually pick a place that you can see it really good. Again, this one, I put some of the differences that I wanted to jog my memory to on here. This one had 2 fireplaces, the square footage, the year built was 2004, how many bedrooms, and active, and $120 a square foot. So those are my talking points that I use. Okay, when I'm pulling different searches, again, this is active, subdivision, and I pull the whole town on this one. So you can see down here, keep all the searches, but I did put Springdale. If you do something different in these searches with these sellers, you want to make sure that you tell them what you did differently. So in the first one, I did the subdivision, just the subdivision that was in there, only the subdivision that the house was in. Now I've got the subdivision here, so I know what subdivision it's in as I can compare it, but I didn't just pull Willow Springs, for instance. So keep everything the same, or understand why not. Then I would highly suggest, because you're going to have this as your talking point as you go down through there, along with these things, that you number 1 through 6. There's 6 properties that you decided to keep or that came up with this criteria. If you change the criteria, you need to point out why and talk about it so they can know you didn't just go pick and choose properties that you wanted to show them, and there are other ones out there. There needs to be a reason why something comes up with this criteria that you wouldn't say that it was comparable. So I went down through these 1 through 6. You can see 1 was 59 acres and a pool, beautiful views. This one was, you know, just a lot we were looking at before. Again, acres, pool, no pool in this other one. Great subdivision pool. This one had 3 fireplaces. The one I was looking at had 1, and it wasn't even in a really good spot. Here's another one with acreage. It was waterfront, not comparable. So see what we're getting in the town and the different subdivisions. Here's a gated one. And then this one is very similar, but it has 3 fireplaces, number 6. So it's higher price per square foot and going to be a higher price than I think this other house ought to be. So again, you're going to go through here and you're going to put some pictures. This one's tall oak, and I didn't put a bunch of them, but you get the idea. Pick the ones that you want to show them that are really comparable. You may not want to do as many on one. You may want to do a couple of them on a couple of different slides that are in there. This makes it virtual so that you can do it anyway. Honestly, every time I've done this in person with someone, it has been a much more impressive listing presentation than not taking something like this. So here are the souls, and you don't have to highlight it like this if you don't want to. However, if I do this for you guys so that you can see what I'm talking about, this is new to you, how much better do you think the sellers are going to be able to understand if you put little brackets around the ones that you use and why you use them? So you can see these top 4. Now, again, I went down all 6 of these on the souls, listed all the different things in here, put in here, this was the square footage, so I changed the square footage a little bit from the other one. I put sold in 180 days, and I used Springdale. That was the different things that I put in the sold to get something to pull up. So you can see how you're going to list it. These are your talking points of comparable homes that you're going to talk to them about. Here's the pictures again.
Marcella,
Yes.
what program do you use to make your presentations?
I use PowerPoint, Microsoft.
I just wanted to make sure, because I see some things, but I don't know how to do all of them. So
yeah, well, these are in PowerPoint, and to be honest, and it doesn't always do this, but if you've got the details on there, TG, if you'll just put the pictures on there one right after the other one, it'll give you slide designs over there, and they usually look something like this. So I sort of like it when they do that. It makes it look like I've really went to work and done a lot of different things, doesn't it? Okay, these are some more pictures, the different price things, the things that I showed, and then I also took one and just showed an MLS, some of the things that I was looking at when I pull those things. So you've got square footage up here at the top, list price per square foot, days on market was 134, and then this house was newer and it was built in 2017. Just some different ways that you can project the things that you're looking at. Here are the net sheets, and I just did a print screen, put these on there. I told you I usually take a high, a low, and an average. We've gone through this one. This one was 109, this one was 105 a square foot, and this one was $100 a square foot. I put the picture on there again that we had taken, not the one that we had enhanced with the lights and things. So I should have pulled that one back over for you guys to see. But I had 100, 105, and 109. So this house, there were things about it that didn't go up to the 124 area that was in there. And he ended up listing it for 474. And then he took an offer. We had 2 offers. It sold in 3 days, and he took an offer. He had 2 different offers. One was for 480 something, was more than appraised, more than the list price, and one was 460 that sent a letter describing their life situations and why this home was important to them, and his heart went out to them, and he took the lower price. Now, if something like that happens, I can just tell you this because this was real, then you need to make sure as representing the seller that he understands that he's leaving $20,000 on the table, and to take his emotions out of the deal, and is that what he really wants to do? And if it is, then you move forward with it. And he never backed up on that. He was very happy with his decisions. So again, the next slide talks about, this is information sources that buyers use. So this was the sources they went to to get information about the home. You can see that online website in 2019 was 93, 2006 it was 80. So it stayed pretty high, the internet has, since 2006. Real estate agent has stayed about the same, 87. Mobile, 73, and it looks like it's going to stay. You know, I'm going to say that, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen as NAR does these at the end of 2020. It will be interesting to see where people have actually, the sources that they're using. I can promise you that websites and mobiles are going to be really huge. Open houses, I'm not sure where that's going to land, but in 2019, I mean, again, the sources that they went to, and we're back doing open houses, mega open houses. A lot of people are showing up. So depending on who they survey, I think that number is still going to be high. And you can look down here at the different things that they did, billboards, television, those were very little, and they're not using a whole lot of stuff like that anymore. Y'all will laugh about that, but I used to advertise on Cox Cable Network, and that's where all the homes went through there. They just, and you wouldn't believe all the people that watched that. I'm surprised that some stations haven't picked that up again with the way things are now, because it would be a great way to market. As a matter of fact, I know some people at Cox. I may talk to them, because I think that would be huge for people to go to that, and you could be able to market your listings on TV with that. So where buyers found their home that they purchased. So the first one we just talked about was the sources that they used and that you're going to tell your sellers. Now this is where they actually found. And if you look over here in 2019, internet was 52%, real estate agent was 29%. So that was over 80% of the buyers that purchased a home used those two top entities there. You can see yard signs, all the different things went way down below what these top two were. So that's why I would say that a real estate, and I believe that a real estate agent is more important today than ever before in representation, because we know what's happening out there. We're staying in tune to the market, and we know how to get people in, how to get them out. We understand the internet, how to get the pictures, how to get the videos, those different things. And as an owner, a lot of times they don't know those things. They may think they do, but they don't. They don't know the search engines, the best one to put these on. And you need to know where your value is. Where does it lie? And then this is your marketing strategy. So again, this needs to be yours. If you're video marketing, professional photos, all of us are using Showing Time. You talk about that. You may talk about KW Mortgage and the pluses for them as a seller, the pluses for them as a buyer when they buy a future property, and then all of the different search engines, the social media sites, the different websites that you have, your website. Keller Williams has a website. We can talk about Command here and all the things that we're using to market through that. Command has been tremendously good as far as interacting with Facebook, and Gary Keller made a deal with them, and probably the best response I've ever seen on ads that we get through, that I've ever gotten through Facebook. So I challenge you to look at some of those if you have a listing. Realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow. And we used to say Zillow was probably, they would tell you they strive to be 50% accurate. I think they have enough information today that they're a lot more accurate, even with their estimates and things like that. Not saying that they're 100% because they can't know everything in all areas, but they're much better than they were. So I don't think that there's something that we can just snark at and turn our nose up at. I think we need to, they are in this market, and a lot of people are using their apps and their information. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that says my estimate says. So be prepared to come back with those areas, especially if you're doing, know if they've got a for sale by owner. Is it on Zillow? What does it look like? What do their pictures look like? What are they saying? Are there amenities? What's their reason for selling that house? What does that say about them? What is it saying to the buyer that's looking at this? Are the pictures really good, or are they just photos that they snapped and they don't know what they're doing? Because the number one thing that people are looking at today when they're looking at homes, when they're looking on the internet, the number one thing is pictures. So your marketing, put whatever you're doing here, then why list with Keller Williams Market Pro Realty, put your name here. If you're on a team, put your team's name here, whatever you're doing. On this slide, I would insert some testimonials, your value added, your affiliate team, your promise, and put that here instead of the last page. So this is a ranking report. We've got the new ranking reports out there. Actually, we pulled through the end of August, and we are higher here, or pretty close to the same. We're still number one. Everything is looking really, really good for Keller Williams Market Pro Realty. Again, these market stats are in there for you to choose. So thank you. And then my promise at the end of mine is to provide you with the most amazing and incredible real estate experience you could ever imagine. That's my goal. Do you have any questions about this? And then you look at them, and this is to remind you, are you ready to list your home? Don't ever forget to ask for the business. Do an awesome listing presentation, and then don't ask for the business. So, all right. Let's review, and I have 4 minutes. So I am not going to go through these reviews. I think I'm going to hit this slide really quickly. This is a listing checklist that you need to have in there. So this is exclusive right to sell contract. If you want to talk about the protection plan, title company information, who you use, who's your affiliate, escrow information, things that you're going to need to turn in to the title company. What do they owe on their property, those kind of things, who their mortgage company is, do they have a title company, a termite company, then a seller's net sheet, lead-based paint disclosure if the house is older than 1978, and then seller's property disclosure. You might want to take that with them or email that to them so they can get that filled out. And then a residential real estate contract with buyers. I always include that because you want to go through the buyer's contract with the seller. So when you get a contract, they're familiar with things that are going to be happening and the offer that they're going to be getting. MLS input sheet. So you might want to have that with you in case you need to say, are there 1 or 2 heating and air? Is it gas? Is it electric? All those kind of, do you have sewer? Do you have septic? Those different things. Know the square footage. Again, you're going to ask them, go back to what the courthouse has. Do they have an appraisal? Always understand square footage is counted and deemed viable off of an appraiser, not the courthouse. Courthouse is almost always wrong. So home inspectors, who do you use? What do they expect? Contract to close information. We have a class on that. That's our last class of this month, so that you'll have the information that you can put together for them. And then the showing instructions form. Let them know that they need to be ready to show this property at any time. Okay, I'm going to go over this one. Doubt and fear are the greatest enemies of knowledge. So don't go into this thing afraid. Believe that you can do this. Our will to move forward with confidence comes from knowledge. Knowledge that you guys are at this point, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't want the knowledge, if you didn't want the talking points, if you didn't want the basics of how to move forward in this business. And then live your life by design. Get a schedule, get ready, do the right things, prospect for business, and share this with your listings that you're going on. That during 9 to 11, I may not call you back because I'm looking for buyers for your property. That's what I do. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and go back. So, has anybody got any questions on here? Mark, you already got in your car.
Headed to an appointment.
All right, woohoo! Good for you.
A lot of information, though. It's really good. I'm sure I'm going to have to consume that multiple times, but yes, that's really good.
You're welcome back any week. Yes, and guys, I would say as a new agent, the more you come and listen to me talk about these things, the more it's going to just be embedded. So you'll be surprised when you get in front of someone else, when you've heard this 2 or 3 times, how it's just going to pop out. Something that I've said, and you go, where did that come from? Man, that was good. I like that. Then I challenge you to take what I've given you and find another agent and practice with them. Zoom is free. Get you a Zoom. Go into Facebook, into the rooms, Facebook rooms that are in there. Invite someone in with you and practice. That's called script practice. This is your listing presentation, and we're working on this month more than anything. Any other questions?
Whenever you talk about your team of people, is that like your inspectors, your appraisers, your loan officers? Is that what that is, or is that your team, the Hagen team?
Well, in ours, it is the Hagen team and what we do for them. We have a thing called Friday follow-up. I have Carrie, I have Madeline, I have people that do those different things that add value back. That can be what you're saying in there. And we talk about our affiliates during this time. So you're gonna make that personalized to what you're gonna do, TG. Yes. Yeah. So your title company that you've talked to, they're going to be on call for you, or you can say, hey, I've got a coach that referred this title company. You know, I visited with them. I think they're awesome. You're free to use whoever you want to, but I do know, because it does make a difference when you know someone, that if we have a problem, then we can go back to them and get an answer. And they're not more expensive than anyone else. And there are great title companies. You know, you guys do not have to use the title company, the situation that we use necessarily. It's my experience. And Lisa is the title company, Liberty Title. And I have, some of you maybe have not heard me say this, but I used to own a title company, and she worked for me in a joint venture when I owned the title company. So we understand each other. And if I call, she calls me back. And even if I was upset with her, I like somebody, when you make a mistake, that you admit that you made a mistake and let's move forward. She is that kind of a person. She's human. She doesn't make mistakes. But those are the kind of things that I talk about. You know, this banker that I just closed on that was virtual and I didn't see him, the one that's in this presentation that I use right now, he had friends at another title company. And because I recommended that we go here, he didn't change. He said, let's go where you want to go. So you'll be surprised how many people will do what you feel comfortable with. And in the long run, we have had other title companies that, because we don't have that relationship with them, then if you go where the buyer wants you to go as a seller, or the buyer goes where the seller wants you to go, then you're at their mercy and they're taking care of that other person. So, yeah. But they have the right, the public has the right to go where they want to. And you let them know that they don't have to use people that are affiliates with you. It just makes it easier. And this is what I say to them. If you choose to go to this lender, that's okay with me. I can work with any lender. I understand their lingo and I can help you. If they won't call me back, I'm going to have to call you. You're going to have to get in the middle of this, because that happens sometimes. So just let them know you may need more help to get an answer. And Carrie and I have had that situation in one that we're working on right now, where the lender will not respond. Communication, if they don't, it makes you never want to use them again, guys. And think about, if we feel that way, how would they feel about us? So I would say always over communicate. Really, really important. Any more questions?
Well, you go back, there was like the slide was black. I can't think of there was something on there. It was a checklist.
You want to share it again? Is that the one that's what you take to a listing?
Yes, there was something toward the bottom that I was going to ask what that.
I think it was like your third to last slide, Marcella, your listing checklist.
This one?
Oh, yes. What's the showing instructions form?
I'm hesitating here because, Carrie, do you use one of those?
No, our agents don't have a form for showing instructions, but when I input a listing and then we go to put it into showing time, I need to know, is the owner going to confirm appointments? Is it vacant? All that good information. So that you should get from your client when you're on your listing appointment.
Okay. We need to add that, Carrie. I do have one of those, and that's why I hesitated, because I'm not involved in that part of it. That would keep you from having to do that. So I would suggest that we can put that out there for you guys. It's just something that it will remind you what questions to answer, the things that Carrie's saying that she needs for showing time. That's what that is. But I hesitated because I think she has just been getting it from our agents instead of them actually using a form. And so we need to go to that. I think it'll take some of the pressure off of Madeline to even do that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's basically all it is, Erin, is just the questions that you're going to ask them. Number one, when you pull that out and you're asking them questions, and just say this is a showing instructions. So they're going to be able to tell you, do I need 24 hours? Do I need 2? And if they say I need 24 hours, here's where you tell them that they're going to miss a lot of people that would look at this home if they do something like that. And it's your talking points for getting them ready to have the house picked up, because it's not going to stay on the market if it's priced right very long in this market. And so they can keep it clean for a week. I understand. I had 4 little kids, and I know that sometimes it's challenging when you've got them to be spur of the moment because you have babies that take naps and those kind of things, but tell them they need to be as flexible as possible. And this is a great time to talk about that.
Thank you.
Good question. Yes. Anything else? Okay, guys, thank you for staying 6 minutes late. Anytime we go late like this, if you need to get off, please feel free to get off, because my goal is to start on time and to quit on time. And these foundational sessions that we have are so full of information that I feel like I'm speaking in tongues, going as fast as I can to get all that information out to you guys. And so if I didn't, I could probably cut these in a couple of different segments, but we couldn't repeat them every month. And I feel like it's important for us to get these basics into you guys so you can get out there and get in the field quickly. Okay? All right. I hope I see you this afternoon, 1:30.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
See you this
Bye.
afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, you got any questions?
Yeah, I was gonna let you know, well, you're still recording too, but I've got to hop on